Welcome back, Terminators. Let's proceed to the next challenge. Are you ready? Are you ready to create a set of radio buttons? So what are radio buttons? Let's go to MDN, and let's look for radio buttons. Radio buttons. Input type radio. We saw this last time in another video. See, select a maintainer's drone. Huey, Dewey, Louie. Okay. So now we have input type radio, ID Huey, name drone, value Huey, checked. So this is the default, is checked, right? And then we have another input type radio, ID Dewey, name drone, value Dewey, and then labels. We haven't actually learned labels yet. I'm just gloss over this right now. Input type radio, ID Louis, name drone, value Louis. Alright, cool. So here we see the values. There's a DOM string represented by the value on the radio button. The events we're going to get into very soon, and you learn a lot about events in JavaScript. So change event and input event is what we're looking for, and the common supported attribute is checked, as well as attributes checked and value, and the mode is select, which is a JavaScript function, which we'll get into once we get into JavaScript. So let's go back to this and see what the instructions say. Create a set of radio buttons. Let's refresh this page, make sure that we are on this correct. Yep, we have a few more to go. We have a few more lessons to go. So creating a set of radio buttons. You use radio buttons for questions where you want the user to give you only one answer out of multiple options. So if you want your users to be able to select multiple options, you use check marks or check boxes instead, right? Which we'll get into, I think, the next time, but I'm just going to show you check boxes. Value type checkbox, which is like that. So you can actually choose multiple inputs, but if you are, you just want them to have one option, they cannot choose multiple options. You use radio. You use input type equals radio. So now you know. See, next we're going to look at checkboxes. So that was a kind of a preview. Alright, cool. So radio buttons are a type of input. Each of your radio buttons can be nested within its own label element. So here we're going to learn about label elements. So you're actually learning two things at one time, I guess. By wrapping an input element inside a label element, it will automatically be associated with the radio button input. Okay, so that surrounds it, right? So all radio buttons must have the same name attribute. That's why you see back here that the value Huey is this, the ID and the value has to be the same. And okay, let's go back. So name is indoor, and that's correct. So all related radio buttons should have the same name attribute to create a radio button group. Are we doing radio buttons groups now? Indoor, outdoor. Okay, cool. Let's continue first. This is a bit more stuff that I wanted to cover. So by creating a radio group, selecting any single radio button will automatically deselect the other buttons within the same group, ensuring only one answer is provided by the user, which is correct, because if you click on this, the dot basically moves from Dewey to Huey, and we move to Louie, and Dewey and Huey. It only selects one. It actually, in the background, it deselects the other one, right? So that is something very important. So here we have an example radio button label, and then so label is the element, open and close. As we saw here, there's a label, and then there's a label for, and then the name, and then the close. So this basically is the closing, so the opening and something text in between, and then closing. So this is where you see this, right? And then same here, you see Dewey here, but it's actually a label. And basically the input type is the little circle here, right? These are the input types. And when you click on it, it selects it based on the label. Because the label is on this side. These are labels, and the circle with the dot or just empty circle is actually the input type. Just like we have the input form here, this is actually an input form. So this could be a dot, for example, it could be a dot, right? So this is a rectangular view of a field. This is a circular view of a field. Now, let's see. So it is considered best practice to set a for attribute for the element on. Okay, set a for attribute on the element, the label element, with the value that matches the value of the ID attribute in the input. So you see, it says for here. So the label for equals indoor. Input ID is indoor. We want to match it together. And so let's go back to this example. The radio button is a radio button, and the ID is Dewey, and the for input inside the the text in the for attribute is Dewey, just like Huey and Huey, right? ID equals Huey, for equals Huey, ID equals Louis, and for equals Louis. We'll get into values later on. I'm not sure if we're going to talk about it this time. No, I don't think we are talking about. We're not going to discuss value. We'll get into that later on. You're going to cover a lot of things already in this lesson. So it's a good thing we're not going to get into that this time. So let's just, for the sake of this, label for and input ID indoor, type equals radio, name, and you can have a name, I guess. So name, we have a name, drone, but the value we're going to discuss next time, not in this lesson. Okay, so add a pair of radio buttons to your form, each nested in its own label element. One should have the option of indoor and the other should have the option of outdoor. Both should share the name attribute of indoor-outdoor to create a radio group. So radio groups, I'm just going to put it at the bottom here, right? And I'm going to do this right now. So it should be okay. Let's see. So we can put it outside the form. So let's do that. Let's put it outside the form. Let's just start this and indent this. Make sure it's indented correctly. Indent one time, and I'm going to just make two of these. Indent this so that it's two, and I'm going to separate them for space. So one of them is indoor, one of them is outdoor. So let's make one outdoor, one indoor. So indoor, outdoor, right? And this is outdoor, of course, for capital. So input type indoor, the ID type is indoor, type radio, name is indoor outdoor. This is the group name. So here we have label for outdoor, input ID outdoor, which matches these two matches, and we have again type equals radio, name equal indoor outdoor, and then the text is outdoor. And if we move down, we see this right here. So to make it look nice, I'm going to add a space. And hopefully it doesn't fail the test because of that. Here you notice that the input is before the label. But for the sake of the example, I'm just going to leave it so that the for the sake of this example, because this is what they're asking us to do, I'm going to leave it this way. But I'm going to also, I guess, make another video. I could make another video. I can just do it right now because I'm curious to see if the test will actually let us pass. So let me read through the rest of this, and then we'll get to that to see if it actually works. Okay, so your page should have two radio elements, which it does. Yes, one radio element. So you see there's two radio elements here, 1 and 2, right? See, there's 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Okay, give your radio button's name attribute indoor outdoor, which it does is indoor outdoor. Indoor outdoor. Give each of them should be nested in their own label element. So I'm going to just say that while this does work, for the sake of this, we're not going to because this is required. This is part of the test. They want us to make sure that the radio buttons elements are actually inside the label. So I think it's going to fail if we do it the other way. But it does work. It's just that they want us to do it this way. One of your radio buttons should have the label indoor, which it does, indoor, right? Indoor, indoor, indoor. And the other one should have outdoor, which it does. Outdoor, 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 right? And each of your radio elements should be added within the form tag. Okay. So I'm going to put them inside the form tag. I'm going to remove that and I'm going to put it here, right? And when I do so, notice that I need to indent this as well, so that it's the same indentation as the button, right? So you see there's 1, 2, and 1, 2, 1, 2, and this is 1, 2, and this is basically 1 and 2, right? So this is 3, 1, 2, 3. Alright, so this should pass the test. And here we can see we can click on it and we can only select one at a time. And obviously we can only have if we click submit, it would not allow us to submit. It will give us an error, right? Because it is still required. That's what we learned last time. When we have required, that's what happens. Okay, so you can always make it look nicer. You can always put more spacing so that's easier to read. But basically this is one block, this is another block, and this is one block, which is the button, the submit button. This is another block of it denotes the form here, and this is the form. This is the form. The whole thing is here, and everything else is wrapped inside the form. And the action basically goes to this URL, or it is internal. There's no HTTP or HTTPS. Is internal. We'll probably get into more form related stuff later on in the course and the classes. Okay, so this should do it for this it's a lot of so this is a bit of a longer video because there's lots of things to cover. But next video should be quite short because we already kind of touched upon creating checkboxes, right? So it should be too difficult. All right, let's submit and let's run the test and see what happens, and then we'll see you. Bullseye, awesome. So we'll see you in the next video.